covered in snow right now.
Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to another video, Hideaway Homestead Ranch. And today and this week, I'm going to be working on the Bronco again. So a few weeks ago, I was hauling water back onto the property and ended up breaking the upper and lower radiator mounts on the driver's side. I have already pulled the radiator out of the Bronco, and you can see right here, here's the upper tab. You can see the bolt just boom, ripped right out. And then once that broke, it was putting a bunch of stress on the factory lower mount, which I have right here. And you could see it just ripped the metal right off. I'll show you what it looks like under the hood. So right in here, you can see the metal's all bent. That's where this bracket just ripped right off. Here's the passenger side. You can see the factory mount, the rubber bushing right there. So what ended up happening was that upper mount, the aluminum radiator mount, that broke. All the stress of it started pounding on the lower mount. That eventually broke, gave way, and then the fan was rubbing on this plastic shroud right here. You can see it's kind of like chipped up a little bit. And that's what I started hearing. You know, I'm driving down the road, it's all bumpy, I'm hauling water back in. All of a sudden I started hearing this clicking kind of a noise. I pull over, pop the hood. Sure enough, the fan was hitting the shroud. And I ended up just rigging it up using some zip ties. I actually had to put like a little stick of wood underneath the radiator just to like hold it up. And I was able to get back onto the property, you know, unloaded the water, all of that kind of stuff. Then I laid down this tarp, drove the Bronco on top of it. We actually went back to California again for a family Easter picnic, you know, so we saw a bunch of family, which was a lot of fun. And then we got back and I just started getting to town. I was like, I need to fix this truck. We rely right now on the Bronco to haul our water in. The Jeep is not, I don't think it's strong enough to haul that much water. I think the towing capacity is like, I don't know, around 4,800 pounds, something like that. So with the water and the trailer, I think we would make that Jeep struggle. I don't know. Anyways, my point is, I gotta fix this thing ASAP. So, sorry for the wind too. It's another windy day here in the Arizona high desert. So, I've decided to just upgrade everything as far as mounting the radiator. I've got to fix it, I got to repair it, and I got to beef it up. The factory bushings on the upper radiator mount and the hardware, it's just it's too weak. So this right here is the factory bolt. You can see the bushing right here is all chewed up, and then this is kind of like the tab or the nut, you know, to take the bolt right there. So it's very, very weak for a stock application. Sure, that's fine, but out here and the bumpy roads that the vehicle is constantly on, it just takes too much abuse. So I'm going to be upgrading it to this. You can see the difference. So a much larger bolt. I'm going to run a slightly shorter one, but just to show you real quick, I'm going to be running this larger bushing. So I got these from the auto parts store, you know, just off the counter universal mount, and I purposely got a bigger, heavier duty one. And then I'm just gonna fabricate a new tab to take this bushing and this much stronger hardware. So that'll take care of the upper radiator mounts. And then as for the lower radiator mount, which is this one right here, the one that broke, I think I'm just gonna modify this and figure out a way to bolt it back into the stock location. I don't want to change the stock location at all because, oh man, the wind is just getting crazy. But I don't want to change the stock location at all because, you know, where the fan is and the shroud and all the mounting points for the hoses and all that stuff. Like, so I kind of need it to be back in the factory location, but just stronger hardware, stronger mounts to take the abuse. I did put, this is obviously an aftermarket aluminum radiator. I believe it's double the size of the factory radiator. And that's just me knowing the desert and off-roading. I just want to be able to keep the motor as cool as possible. So I upgraded that like a long time ago. Okay, so I'm gonna do some head scratching and figure out some tabs and figure out some stuff, and then I'll kind of show you what I come up with. Okay, so I got some stuff figured out. I think I know what I'm gonna do now. I'll try my best to explain it. It might sound a little bit weird, but in my mind it works. So I'm gonna build it and see if it works, and I'll just show you the process along the way. But I kind of wanted to show you really quick the hardware. So I had to go to town and get a metric bolt that will fit this bushing, because a standard bolt was either too tight or too loose, and there was some play in it. So metric was the way to go, and it fits nice and perfect. Another thing I really wanted, because this is a long bolt, is sorry, I'm doing this with one hand here. I wanted to make sure that the bushing was going to ride on the shank here of the bolt, not on, you know, not on the threads. Because when the truck is bouncing and there's a lot of vibration, the threads start to chew away at the rubber bushing. But if it's on this smooth shanked part, that doesn't happen as much. And then I'm going to run lock washer, regular washer, and then another one on the back end. So this is kind of how it'll end up being. Okay, so that's bushing and hardware for the upper mount. This is kind of what I came up with right here. So this is going to be my new tab. So the circle in the center will take this bushing right here. This part of the bushing, it'll kind of squeeze in. There's a little groove right there. I already measured it with the caliper. It's 1 inch, so I'm just gonna punch a 1 inch hole right there. And then I think I'm also I'm gonna cut this out of steel, and I think I'm gonna weld it to this 1 inch square tubing, kind of like that. So a piece of metal will come down, you know, and then the bushing and the bolt will come right out, kind of like that. That's what I have in my mind. Okay, and so all this hardware is for the upper mount. This is extra. Now for the lower mount, I think what I'm going to do is open up this lower hole and then drill a new hole up here for this hardware right here. And I'm using all grade 8 hardware because I had some extra grade 8 and nylock nuts, just much stronger, heavier duty hardware. And then additionally, I'm going to beef up this tab. I think I know I have some 1 inch flat strap bar. So I'm gonna just reinforce the back and the bottom here. Yeah, just to reinforce it. And then I'll bolt this back into the factory location. So yeah, I know, a little confusing, but you'll see. I think it'll work. So I'm gonna get to work. I need to start cutting some metal, start shaping some stuff, drilling some holes, seeing how things fit, and then yeah, start trying to bolt the radiator back in and see if everything lines up. So let's get to it. Okay, here's the material that I have on hand, which is I believe this is 1/8 inch by 2-inch flat strap, just a 10-foot stick of it. And then same, but just 1-inch flat strap as well. So I've already kind of traced my little template on there. So I'm gonna cut these out, cut some of this stuff out, start shaping it, drilling holes, things like that. And yeah, seeing how this will all go together. I'm basically building my own little puzzle piece. And I don't like pre-sketch any of my stuff. I just kind of have these ideas of what I think will work. And so now I just need to build the piece and see if it works. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. So hopefully it does, and I can put the truck back together, because we're gonna need water soon, and I need to go to town. So let's get to it. All right, I got my pieces cut out. Just a rough cut with, you know, grinder and cutoff wheel. Not my favorite way to do this, but it's quick and effective. Like if I had like 100 of these parts, there's no way I would use a grinder. But anyways, just showing this really fast. Now I need to fire up the generator so I can run my bench grinder. And I use this belt sander right here to smooth out my parts. Works pretty darn well. Okay, I'll show you all that when I'm done. All right, just got done smoothing it out, you know, rounding all the edges and stuff. Looks pretty close to my template. So next I'm going to drill the 1-inch hole so the bushing can go in there. And then I think I'm going to end up welding this square tubing somewhere right here, something like that. But I need to drill the hole first. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is use this 1-inch drill bit, and then I'm just going to start with the pilot hole, open it up with this one, and then go to the 1-inch. I do have a 1-inch hole saw right here, but I'm afraid that this is going to kind of dance around a little bit and not give me a perfectly clean 1-inch hole. So I'm going to go with the drill bit and see if that works. I was going to use an end mill, but I don't have a 1-inch end mill. I have a bunch of all kinds of different drill bits and end mills and parts here. This is just it's like a light duty mill, heavy duty drill press. I just have a standard chuck in here right now, but you know, you could swap these out for, you know, collet body and run end mills or whatever. But I'm just trying to do this quick. I need to get this thing worked out and figured out. So yeah, let me get this set up and punch a hole through it. Alright, so I line my part up, mark my hole. There we go. Boom. So I use my template to mark the center of my hole. Center punch. Now I'm just going to clamp these two together and drill through it. they are. So I just took them to the grinder really fast just to clean off the burrs. I took a file to the inside just to clean it up a little bit. And as you can see, the bushing has like a tapered fit. So it goes in there pretty close. I'm hoping that once I get the bolt and I'm driving it in with the nuts and everything, it'll pull it in. If not, I'll have to open up the hole just a little bit more. But so far so good. I think it'll work. So I just got to keep going, keep pushing, keep making the parts to see if it'll bolt up. All right, here's an update. So the lower mount, I opened up that bottom hole, drilled a new hole up top, and then I just cut a piece of the 1-inch flat strap, and I'm gonna weld it to the back side of this plate. So my goal for doing this is two things. One, this 1-inch flat strap is thicker than the metal bracket itself. So now the bolt hole is just stronger because the metal's thicker, right? And then secondly, my idea is I left it purposely long like this. So when I bolt this back into the truck, it's gonna sit on the lower cross member in there. And that will prevent the bracket from being able to slide down, right? Because it's gonna be just resting on the cross member. Okay. And then I'm gonna transfer the bolt holes to this 2-inch plate as basically like a big washer. That's pretty much my objective with this. And it'll have the same concept too. It's just gonna sit flat on the cross member, and then I can just run my nut and bolt through that, and that should work. And I'm just gonna do this side. I was gonna take out the passenger side, but I have to cut welds and all kinds of stuff. And I don't think it's gonna break because now I'm beefing up the upper radiator brackets and the hardware. So it's a much larger bolt, and I highly doubt it's gonna break the passenger side lower mount. Okay, so that's that. This, I'm gonna weld this the nut to this plate right here. Okay, and then I'm gonna weld the whole plate on the inside of the truck. I know this is hard to understand because you can't see inside the engine bay. I mean, I can kind of show you, but then holding the parts and the camera and everything, it's a little bit tricky. So I'm just, bear with me. Again, as I move forward, you'll see more of what I'm talking about. But I'm getting the welder all set up. I just got to turn on the generator, plug it in, and then I can weld up these little parts really fast. And then move to the next stage of building this stuff out. Once this is all ready to be bolted in, I could spray paint it. I have just some black spray paint right there. Paint it up, bolt it in. Hopefully that I don't need to mess with that again. And then I have the lower radiator brackets back in place. Then I can drop the radiator in, have them sit on the lower mounts, and then I can line everything up for the upper radiator mounts. So there's a lot. It's kind of a lot. Not difficult, like I in my head I think it's gonna work still. There's just a lot of stages, and obviously me just rambling on and talking about it, like, it makes zero sense. But once I have it bolted in, I'll show you. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So let me just burn this stuff in real quick. Shouldn't take too long. I got another hole, some holes to drill on the inside of the truck, and then I could probably bolt up the lower radiator mount. Okay, let's keep pushing. All right, I don't know how much of that I got, but whew, still hot. All right, so you know, not perfect, but still good. Looks like got good. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of looking and not looking at what I'm recording. No, the welds look fine. You know, I weld with gas on my MIG welder. I'm not a fan of flux core welding. Oh, I still got my bandana on. I don't really like flux core welding. It's just dirty and messy. I mean, it has its useful applications. You know, if you're just welding that's something that's, you know, dirty, like an old rusty gate or something, you just need to get it attached again. It's a lot easier. You don't need to haul around a tank and stuff like that, but I'm not normally a fan of it. All of the kind of welding and work that I've ever done has been in like the automotive world, off-road, truck world, and then my last, you know, W-2 welding job, it was an aerospace job where we did nothing but TIG welding, and you know, everything is like clean and perfect and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, I need to let this stuff cool down. Again, I need to transfer those holes into this plate, drill that out, make sure it bolts up to the truck fine, and then I could put a coat of paint on it so that it doesn't rust out. And then this portion is done for now. Man, it's like hours of building and fabrication for like literally like 5 minutes of welding. But that's just the way it goes. All right, so I have now transferred the holes from this bracket into this plate, and like I said, this plate is basically be like a big washer for the back side. And again, I'm trying to do this with one hand, so sorry if I'm all over the place, but let's see if I can explain it a little better under the hood. I'll do my best. It's a little loud, but okay. So down here is the issue. See all these different size holes, things like that. Obviously, right here in this area is where the metal ripped, you know. So I don't have a normal bolt hole right there. That's why I wanted to use this 1-inch flat strap and create my own new bolt hole essentially. Okay, so let me try to put this down there. I've never done this inside the car filming, but basically the mount is going to go right here. I'm going to use a unibit and just open up this hole really big and just open this up really big too, just punching a big hole through there so that my bolt can go through. I'm going to use this on the back side. Oh, there goes radiator fluid. I'm going to use this on the back side again as like a big washer. So you can see like that might actually work out all right there. My pinky's coming through. I just got to open that up just a little bit so my bolt can go through nice and easy. And then this one I got to open up real big because the hole's more on this side over here. So hopefully it's not that big of a deal. And then this side, this is the passenger side right there. This bracket's still fine, it's intact. I'm just gonna leave this one alone. I would have to cut the spot welds and do all kinds of things. I already removed this one bolt and it's not really doing anything. There's like 3 spot welds inside there. I don't even want to risk trying to cut those spot welds and hammer this thing out. It's like, there's no point. Okay, so that's the lower mount. Again, all I need to do is drill that out, and I think I can bolt that up. If I can bolt that up, I can just paint it real quick, you know, do one quick coat, let it cure while I work on the next one. So now this is going to be the next piece of the puzzle. This is going to be for the, whoa, almost went down right there. Okay, so this hole right here, I'm going to open this up so that this nut can fit inside, and then my tab can fit flush right here. So once I open that up, this nut will go inside. I'm going to weld this in here. So just right here on this lip. I'm going to weld that right there. And then my new bolt and bracket and everything will bolt into right here. Again, it's a little hard to explain. In my mind it works. It should work right here. But I need to get this welded in. I need my lower brackets in place. Then I can set the radiator in here again and start lining up the upper mounts. Sorry, we're all out of focus. Man, it's a bad day for filming. Apologize if this video comes out horribly bad. You can't hear anything I'm saying. I apologize. I'm doing my best to just work and show you guys kind of stuff that goes on around our property. Okay, I'm gonna finish drilling this stuff out. I'm gonna get this lower bracket in and painted so I can move on to the next thing. All right, I'm gonna get ready to bolt in the lower mount. I shot some paint on it just real quick. They're actually just a little bit tacky still, but it's all good. This is the hardware I'm going to use. Grade 8 hardware, super strong. Definitely overkill, but it's okay. And I'm going to use a nylock nut, so I don't need to use lock washers, and I don't have to worry about this thing vibrating off. So yeah, this is my hardware of choice. I've switched out so much hardware for grade 8 hardware when I've worked on this truck over the years. For example, I put in new bushings in the rear leaf springs, and I swapped out all the factory hardware for upgraded grade 8 hardware. It's just way stronger. So let's go see how this is kind of going together inside here. Okay, I'm gonna try to prop the camera. First is my large backing plate. So you can also see I opened up these holes super big right in here, just so my bolt can go through. There's the top. Bottom. Washer. Nut. And now that should be good. I highly doubt that's going anywhere. I was taking measurements of the factory passenger side one just to kind of, oops, sorry. So I was taking measurements of the factory passenger side mount just as a reference point for this one as I'm bolting it up. And yeah, it should be fine. It looks really good. This thing back in here. Okay, my next step is to I actually got to prep the inside of here now. So I opened this up with a drill bit, just used a unibit, opened it up, and now I just need to prep right here for welding. I just need to grind it real quick. Drag the welder over, 2 little welds on each side. Boom, that's done, and then I can drop the radiator in. So let's keep going. All right, I got the welder up and running. I just welded in the driver's side tab, but I kind of just want to show all of this before I move too fast. So I put down this welding blanket, obviously over the motor, just so sparks and stuff ain't burning wires. But here's the first one. You know, not the super prettiest welds ever, but they're good. There's no porosity. They look all right. Still hot. That wasn't smart. So now I got to do this side. So you see I went in there, grinded the paint, and then here's my tab. I shot a little coat of spray paint on it and then just grinded the ends, and then, you know, the nut. Let's see if I can get this. The nut just goes inside the little hole right there, and then boom, I'm gonna burn it in. So it's a little difficult, honestly. It's the wind is the biggest obstacle, and then I am kind of like welding like this, like upside down. So you know, it's not difficult. I obviously can weld it. It's just not the prettiest weld ever. But as long as it's strong, I don't really care. You'll never even know it's there. So yeah, I'm gonna do this side now. I'm gonna try to mount the camera so y'all can see. So I'm gonna try to do this. do it. All right, now that I have the top, I don't know, is that bolt bracket deal welded in? I don't know what that thing's called, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna start working on the mounting point for the upper radiator bracket. So this is my idea. So obviously it's all aluminum, and I'm making steel parts, and I can't weld steel to aluminum, so I'm going to use this square tubing, 1-inch square tubing. I'm going to bolt it to this aluminum bracket. So I already drilled one little pilot hole right there, and then I'm going to drill another pilot hole right here. So this is obviously where, you know, the factory bolt was, and it broke. So like I said, I'm gonna do a bolt. So I'm gonna put this right here and run this little 1/4-20 bolt like that, boom, and then one going down this way. Okay, and then once that's bolted up, that's where my new tab and bushing comes into play, and it'll go somewhere like that. And then this goes into what I just welded on the truck. It'll bolt into that. So again, it's a little weird right here, but once I have it all done and in the truck, it'll make a little bit more sense. But I'm just trying to show you guys some of the steps and what I'm doing to fix this. And now I've debated about, you know, just getting some more angle iron, some aluminum angle, cutting this off and re-welding it. But what I didn't like was the factory hardware, and I guess I could have done that and just ran a bigger bolt, but then I'm still working with the factory bushings. I just don't like the factory stuff. It's just not, it's not strong enough, you know, for off-road or this dirt road that the vehicles are on all the time. I mean, it's like a washboard road. We've got several miles of it, and again, it's like I'm constantly driving it just to get on and off the property, and just the truck is old, you know, it's a 94 Bronco, and it's just taking abuse, and I don't like the factory hardware at all. So I decided to go this route, beef everything up, and just make some quick modifications. And that's what I was saying earlier, like I just need to sit and like scratch my head, kind of look around, see what hardware I have, see what type of metal I have, things like that, and then I'm just like, okay, I think I can make this work. And I don't even know yet if it's going to work all the way. It's looking good, everything's looking good so far, but I'm still fabricating, still drilling holes, still grinding. It's probably like, I don't know, 5:30 right now. I'm not sure what time it is, but yeah, I still got daylight. I'm gonna keep going, try to get this more done. So I'm gonna keep working. All right, got it bolted in, see, and now this tab I plan to put somewhere like that, you know, and then I'll just weld this tab to the square tubing. So I don't know this spacing, that's why I haven't welded these yet. So I need to put the radiator back in the truck on the lower mounts, pretty close to where it'll be. Then I can bolt in this long bolt right here, okay, and then once it's touching this square tubing, I can tack it in place, unbolt it from the radiator and the truck. All right, guys, day 2 working back on the Bronco. Quick recap, it's crazy windy today, so I apologize for all the wind noise. I think we might get some rain soon. I'm not sure. All right, so square tubing's all bolted in. What I'm gonna do now is put the radiator back inside the Bronco and then start bolting up the upper brackets, like I was kind of explaining yesterday. So I'm gonna start doing that, and then I'll show you how things look. Okay, so here's the bracket. I had to shorten up the square tubing quite a bit, just big enough to fit the aluminum tab, and then I had to cut down my bracket that holds the bushing right here, because it was running into this nut and bolt right here. So it's all loose still. I have this bolt started in there, this is bolted down. So what I'm getting ready to do is tack it in place. This is the driver's side. I have the passenger side as well. So now I'm just going to shoot a tack right in the corner, right there, unbolt the whole thing and weld it up. Obviously remove the bushing and everything. Don't want that melting. Some slight modifications, but I think it'll still serve the same purpose, and it should work. And the only last thing I'm now seeing and thinking might be a slight issue is this gap right here where the threads are. Now I'm hoping once I start putting a wrench on this and tightening it inward, the bushing will compress more into this metal tab, which will then obviously this part of the rubber will come in a little bit more, and then the gap right here can be a little bit smaller, and I can shim it with washers, maybe. I don't know. Otherwise, this lock washer will do nothing, and I can just remove it. And then I would have to put like Loctite or something in there, just so this bolt doesn't want to back out. But I think it's definitely strong enough to just support this radiator. But I'll cross that bridge after it's all welded and in place. See what it looks like. So I'm gonna get ready to tack this thing. Got the welder back out. I just gotta fire up the generator and try to tack it. It's super windy, so as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna have to go probably inside the container here to weld it. So keep going. I gotta keep going. All right, I just got done welding it. I decided to TIG weld it, but it didn't really come out very nice. I think it was all the mill scale still on the tab, just caused some porosity. So I got some porosity right there. Not the greatest. But I chose to TIG weld it because the washers will go right there, and I didn't want a big weld in the way. So I decided to just TIG weld it real fast. But I'm about to shoot paint on them, let them dry up, and then bolt them in. All right, got it bolted in. So there's that little gap I was kind of concerned about, but the lock washer is fully compressed on both sides. So you just have like a little bit of space right there. But I mean, it's obviously solid, like, you know, ain't moving nowhere. So yeah, I mean, it's in there, it's bolted in. I think it's gonna do the job. Next is I just need to connect all the hoses and all the lines and stuff, put the fluid back in, and should be good to go. So whew. Yeah, that was interesting project. I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work or not. I had to make some adjustments at the end, but you know, it worked out. I think it's going to be okay. Appreciate everyone sticking around and watching this video. I know it's a little bit different from actually working on the property, but you know, that's just kind of what happens out here. Anyways, appreciate everyone. See you in the next one.